Hey, what's up guys, Tony here, and you're watching some more iRacing. So this is the actual race at VIR. If you remember the last video I posted, it was me practicing the V8 Supercar at VIR with an Xbox controller. And I was doing that pretty much just for fun, and what I had done is basically plug the controller in, set it up as you guys saw, and then ran for it and made a video about it. And thankfully most of you guys, or almost all of you guys, saw the humor in it. It was just kind of ridiculous, and it wasn't really anything that I was serious about doing. And I know there's some people out there that race with a controller, so kudos to you, because it was pretty gnarly. But in that video, I actually had said that I was going to explain to you why. Why was I doing that? And part of it was because one time, somebody actually asked me to do that. I don't remember who it was, but they're like, hey, would you be able to go ahead and plug in an Xbox controller and race with a controller and just let us know how it is? And so I was like, you know what, yeah, sure, why not, I'll do it. And then I think 2 years later I finally got around to doing it. And not because I was like, hey, I'm gonna make a cool video about this and have some fun with it. It was more because well, I want to have fun with it, but it was more because I had a situation with my wheel. So the long story short is that my G27 has started to fail on me, and it's been a great wheel. I've had it for, I don't know, 3.5 years now. And the funny thing is is that when I bought my G27, it was $299, and when I first started noticing some issues with the G27, I went out and I started looking at Amazon and some other places. They're not $299 anymore. I mean, some people are selling used G27s for $400 or $500, and then there are some people, I mean, if they have a brand new one, it's like $900. And I kind of laugh because I don't think a G27 is worth that much money. But I think what it is that Logitech, the G29 really hasn't been that much of an upgrade to the G27. And I know there's also the I think the G920 is the sort of the Xbox counterpart. So anyways, the G29 is just not, I don't know, people just aren't in love with it. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh yeah, no, not in love with it. But the G27 has been a very sturdy wheel for the most part. And I mean, besides things I noticed in there that started to go, was the gearing was kind of having some issues where I started to see a little bit of a dead zone in the steering for about 5 degrees left and right. Just kind of wiggle it back and forth. And you're like, oh, that's not right, But it wasn't really enough for me to be like, yeah, I need to get a wheel. And I think also it started to kind of canter to one side. So anyways, I just was like, okay, well, it's unfortunate, but it's livable. I don't really need a new wheel. And I kind of noticed this back in, gosh, I want to say July or August of last year. And like I said, it wasn't really anything, it wasn't a big deal, and I wasn't really about to do anything about it because I really didn't have the means to. But most importantly, it didn't affect my racing at all. I could still race with it. It was just something that I had to get used to, and I did. Recently, though, things have started to take a turn for the worse for the G27. There have been times where, and this is within the last 2 to 4 months or something like that, where I'll have it plugged in, and then all of a sudden it'll just sort of reset itself, and then the wheel will spin and calibrate, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, when I turn the wheel 60 degrees in game, it spins the wheel in, or excuse me, 60 degrees in real life. The wheel spins 300 degrees in game, and no matter what I do with the settings, nothing was working. And so, basically when I go to the Logic profiler, suddenly my wheel would be a completely different wheel. So instead of showing the G27 like it was, it showed this purple rim, and I'm like, what is that? And then other settings such as the ability to change the degree of rotation, manually move it to whatever you want, to 900 degrees, that was gone. You couldn't do that. Option was just not there anymore. And I was like, oh, this is really strange. So the first time it happened, I was like, this is weird. So I uninstalled everything, the software and the drivers, and then I just reinstalled everything, and it worked just fine. I was like, okay, no big deal. But last week it happened again, and it took me a few days to get it sorted. And even at that, basically what I did is I was like, you know what, okay, so I uninstalled everything, reinstalled everything, problem still persisted. So then I uninstalled everything, reinstalled everything, problem still persisted. So I did this by 3 or 4 times. And then what I did is I uninstalled everything, and then I just plugged the wheel in, because that was the trick that I did the first time that got it to work. And it was kind of annoying because buttons lost functionality. So I have 6 buttons on the G27, and all 7 or 6 buttons, they wouldn't do anything. Like I couldn't program them. They had no functionality at all. And then the the shifter, that had functionality, but just the wheel didn't. I was like, that's really strange. So, but anyways, I did that before and got it to work. And really, the big reason why is because I wanted to race the V8 Supercar race here. I wanted to get into this because I'd practiced the whole damn week. And I felt very competitive, and I felt very good about it, and I just didn't want to, you know, I couldn't accept defeat. I was like, I'm going to give this one more try. So anyways, what happened, and I have to give credit to Ken from Band of Others, because I went on to his TeamSpeak, and I was griping about the problem, and he's like, hey, well, let me help you out here. Well, he didn't really say it like that, but he started asking questions, and on his end, he started Googling stuff, and I had already been researching some items, and basically what I had found is that sometimes the drivers can get screwed up, and you have to, well, like, actually reset them. Plugging the device into another USB port will force the proper drivers back into place. Anyway, so I did that. I'm like, well, it worked. And you know, like, okay, my 6 buttons basically have been devolved to 2, because all the ones on the left part of the wheel would do the same function, and all the ones on the right part of the wheel would do the same function. So I could either look left and look right, or I could have, like, the left buttons, basically all 3 of them would be pit limiter or push to talk or whatever. I couldn't get each individual button to have the functionality, and so or individual functions. And so anyways, I was like, what the hell is that all about? So then what Ken was able to find is he found a solution on like a photo hosting platform, I think, if I remember correctly. But what he discovered was the purple wheel that was showing up on the image on my profiler was the Driving Force GT. And so for whatever reason, that wheel was coming up. And so as we worked on it, and as we researched the problem even more, he found that it was an issue with Windows 10, because I upgraded to Windows 10, I don't know, I think this is the 2nd version of Windows 10 that I have, because back when I was having issues with my graphics card, I had done a full clean install of Windows, and I did a Windows 7, and I upgraded to Windows 10, and then but before that, I think I had Windows 10 as well. Same sort of situation where it's like, okay, I've got the upgrade, I'm going to do it, no big deal. So what happened was that Windows 10, unbeknownst to me, was forcing updates on my software and on drivers. And so I think because the G27 has been discontinued and the G29 is the new wheel, the /G920 I believe it is, what it was changing my drivers, it was changing my software and updating it to the most current version, even though it didn't need to be. It needed to be this one particular older version. So that was what was going on. That's the software glitch that I was having. And the thing is, to be honest with you, the idea of transitioning or buying a new setup was kind of well underway. So for me, I had already got it in my head that when the wheel stopped working for a second time, that I was going to look into investing in a new wheel. So if you follow me on Twitter, you already know that I had this conversation, and you already know what's coming. So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna hide it. It's not like a spoiler alert. It's not in the movie. But what I did is I started to look into the couple of different wheels. So obviously the Club Sport system is one that I've been interested in for a very long time, and mainly because I really don't know why. I think it was because the Club Sport Elite, I think was, no. Anyways, one of my buddies had the Club Sport wheel, and so that was sort of word of mouth, and I heard a lot of really good things about Fanatec or Fanatic. I've heard it pronounced both ways, so who the hell knows. It's like GIF and GIF. So anyways, there's 2 wheels that I was really looking into. Obviously the Club Sport system, like I said, and the other one was the Thrustmaster TX wheel. And I watched a ton of reviews about both systems, and I eventually did go with the Club Sport system, just because I also have the Club Sport pedals. I bought, about 2 years ago, I bought the Club Sport V2s, I ran them for about a year. When the V3s came out, I was like, yes, please. And last September, I picked up the V3s. So the seed was already planted in a transition to Club Sport equipment. One of the biggest knocks that I had against the Thrustmaster wheel is that I wanted a wheel that was very close to like a life-size wheel. There was something about the G27's little tiny wheel that was throwing me off. There were times where I drove my Ford Focus quite spiritedly, and I noticed that when I would turn, it's like, wow, this wheel is gigantic. You know, my racing experience is on the G27, and it's a very tiny rim by comparison to a real steering wheel. And so I thought that for the sake of transitioning from sim racer to a real life racer, or to like autocross, I want things to be one-to-one. I want them to, my experience to be very similar. I want to kind of have an idea of what's going to happen when I go in. So yeah, what I looked at it as far as the Thrustmaster wheel or the rim options they had like F1, which was cool. I mean, it's like right from a Formula 1 Ferrari. They had what was the other one? I think it was a Ferrari rim, or no, it was like a standard rim. Anyways, it was small, and the reviews I saw were not the best. They, you know, felt very plasticky and toy-like and stuff. So I was like, you know, if I'm gonna buy something, I'm gonna buy quality, and so I did, and I'm really happy with the purchase right now. I'm not gonna do a review of it. I don't think I'm gonna do that just yet. I want to get some more real time in it with it, but it's a pretty badass little system, and I couldn't be happier, to be honest with you. So anyways, that's what's been going on with the wheel. That explains why I posted that really random video of me racing with the Xbox controller, because at the moment that I recorded that video, I didn't have a working wheel, and it took a few days to get it working again. So, I mean, what I can say right now is at least I have a really decent backup wheel. So if there anything, heaven forbid, were to happen to the Club Sport system and the Club Sport base here, I have a G27 as a backup, which is great. And so I'm pretty good about keeping stuff like that. I'm not gonna sell to anyone, just because, like I said, they got these software issues right now that hopefully they'll figure out. And I think I figured it out with Ken, so I don't think it's ever going to be a problem if I have to plug that wheel back in. But the other thing is, like I said, it's kind of developing a little bit of a dead zone for feedback wise. But anyways, it's a great little backup piece. I was actually going to take the rim off and mount it on the wall, just kind of keep it as a keepsake. But now that I got it working again, I don't really need to do that. And I would definitely be lying if I said after I got the wheel working, I was like, do I really need to spend this money right now, or should I cancel my order? But I was like, no, I got it ordered. I'm gonna keep it. So anyways, this race, I think it gets a little slow in the middle. It heats up towards the end. The last handful of laps were pretty good. I should have said this at the beginning of the Sting video, but here we are 14 minutes into it. The weather like changed on us so drastically. In practice, it was definitely an amazing track to race on. Like, we had some great lap times. So then we registered for the race, we were in practice, I'm like, cool, everything's awesome. We get into the race session, and the temperature's stupidly hot, and the track is not very sticky. Cars are flying off, losing grip everywhere, and I'm just like, what? So yeah, myself and the guys I was racing with, we were all griping pretty vocally about the track conditions, but whatever, it is what it is. Everyone was several seconds off their pace, but I don't know. I got a gripe about dynamic weather, and I'm not going to do it right now. But anyways, it was a pretty good race. I think what I'll do is I'll tack on the Wednesday strength of field race that we ran. Well, we didn't really run it, we built it, you know, it was 6 of us, but the last couple laps were actually pretty good, so I might tack that onto the end, we'll see. But anyways, like I said, what I'll do is I'll probably end up doing a review of the Club Sport wheel. I don't know, a little bit. I don't know, whenever I get around to it. But I'd like to, just because I tend to do stuff like that anyways, and I figure that my voice might help someone decide whether or not they want to spend the money on this, or pick up a system that's about half the price, which is, you know, probably just as effective. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the race. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I shall talk to you guys later.